Buddy, welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Relationships. I am Julie Murphy, and I always say that we either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, and through our relationships. And I'm the money chick, and Miss Rita here is our relationship expert. And today it's about creating how do you have relationships and a life that you love, because whatever you focus on is what you energize, and then that's what you create more of. And we don't realize that, particularly when we're in relationships that don't really serve our heart and soul anymore. Right?
Right.
And it's about, what did you say? You said uh you have relationships and a life that you love when the most important one is loving yourself. This is how you get there, because your outside world reflects what's going on the inside.
Right. The biggest problem for most women and men and kids and everybody is that our body has its own opinion.
And it really does. Our body intelligence, for sure.
Right. There's a weird sound on your end, like a clicking. Sound? Yeah. Let me see if it's me.
Yeah, I don't have any sounds going on my end.
Okay. But it's quite loud, and it's quite, I don't know if anybody else can hear it.
Okay,
if it doesn't, I can ignore
down. I turned my volume down. Does that not help?
That didn't help, because the noise is loud. Because I don't know if anybody else can hear it. Because if they can, then it's not good, because it's really loud. Yeah, let me turn off my sound. Well, of course, if I turn off my sound, I won't hear it.
Can you guys give us any comments on whether or not my voice sounds weird on your guys' end? I would certainly appreciate that. That would be awesome. And if everything is A-okay, that would be awesome to tell us that too. All right. Well, I guess we can keep talking and see if anyone comments on whether they can hear me or not, because I don't want to sit here and not say anything.
Right. Try muting yourself, and I'll see if I still hear it. Yes, I still hear it, even though you're muted.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me now? Does that help at all?
I can. Let me hop off and come back on. You want me to do that?
Sure, I'll stop. Okay, guys, just join us in a few minutes. We're going to stop the live stream.
It just stopped.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyways, the problem is that our body has its own opinion about things. And so even if our mind says we want to be peace and love, and we want to be nice to people, and we want to be objective and spiritual in nature, our body is screaming at us to do something. And it makes us feel anxious, and our mind races, and our skin crawls, and our back hurts, and our arthritis flares up, and we have panic attacks. And that's our body telling us that it's under stress. And as long as we keep telling our bodies that it's stupid, and why are you doing this, and what's wrong with you, and I hate you, and I wish you would stop, as we have an unloving relationship with ourselves then. Because we're treating our body, which is ourselves, as if it's the enemy. You have to be okay with how you're feeling, and address it with compassion. So when you're angry, the only answer, as spiritual practices say, is feeling a sense of love and surrounding yourself with love. If you don't do that, then you're going to stay in that pattern of stress, because your body's hardwired to a certain level of stress. And you have to take the reins back and say, we're not doing this anymore. I choose peace. I choose love. And even when we feel uncomfortable or anxious, or like the smartest thing we can do is punch somebody in the face, even when that is our driving motivation, I'm scared and I need to protect myself at all costs, we have to swoop in like our own guardian angel and say, it's okay. You're having a hard time right now. What would make you feel really good? What would make you stop feeling so punished so you can relax and let go?
Yeah, it's so true. I've watched, it's funny, with 4 children, I see things pop up in, because now there's 5 of us that I'm watching, right? So it's really interesting. I was explaining to one of my kids this week that he wound up with this stuff on his skin. And I'm like, if anyone has never looked at Heal Your Body or Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, it's an amazing book that really maps out extremely well that when you have physical things going on in your body, it tells you the emotional cause for them. And I've used this as a resource book for clients for years. And whether it's cancer or belly fat or diabetes, like they've got the whole list of what is the emotional cause. Because remember, when we don't process our emotions, they crystallize inside of our body and then they form disease over time. And we don't realize.
And our skin sags and our hair falls out and
right.
And we look more unattractive and we grow old, like the people that we pity, losing our teeth. And, but
right.
Instead, if you choose not to feel those, not to suppress them, but if you choose to have compassion for when you're going through a situation, then your body's going to stay strong and it's going to stay healthy. But it's not as long as it thinks it's running away from a lion.
Yep. That's so true. And if you're really conscious to these things, it starts to actually flip the switch, right? Because you're starting to be aware that, oh, I got it. So my body is sending me messages, which says that, oh, I'm not fully operating from a place of my own self-love and self-care. That's what that's really telling you. So that if we pull it backwards and say, okay, so for us to actually have relationships and a life that we love, we have to not be having physical consequences of not actually super loving ourselves.
Right. You have to come
anybody else.
Yeah. When people neglect their emotional body, it's like they're cutting off their arm voluntarily.
That's true.
Because it's your body is an important part of your intuitive self, an important part of your whole self, and it screams at you, and we ignore it, and we give it drugs, and we obsess, and we run marathons, and because we're trying to make our body feel better.
Yep.
But it doesn't feel good because we're not giving it the things that it needs, which is connection, inner peace, choice of thought. And that's really a big one because our hardwired patterns, every time we think about things, and you talked about this before we got on the call, you didn't want to give something any more energy. You didn't want to keep laying down these tracks
it's so true.
Of negativity. And so just like building, the railroad system across the country, in the 1800s, you show up to work, you lay down the track of peace and love, you do the best you can, good day, bad day, and then you go home. But eventually you have a railroad system that crosses the country and you can get from here to, New York.
So true.
With sandwiches.
Yep.
And snacks. I mean, so it feels like it's going to take forever, but it really doesn't.
It doesn't, because it's layering, right?
Yes.
So it's the layering so you pull one piece off and then you're like, oh, now let me go to a deeper level. Okay. And that's to go to a deeper level. Okay. And here's the thing. If we don't accept whatever arises in our life, then we suffer.
Yes.
And so whatever occurs, accept it. Otherwise, then you're going to be shown, like you were saying to me earlier, that you're going to be shown the next layer of your own personal unpacking for it to come to a place of a deeper healing.
Let's say you saw me on the street and I ran after you with my fist up.
Yeah.
And your body said, oh my God, what's happening here? and it goes into a contracted state.
Right.
When we spend time in that
And it will.
contracted fear state for any reason, we are not thinking clearly.
Right.
You can't make good decisions.
So
All
true.
you want to do is you're not, curiously asking, why is Rita coming after me looking like she's gonna, rip my throat out? You're not saying, oh, that's so curious. You're saying, oh my God, she's gonna beat my head in with a baseball bat. Is what happened? Maybe like what happened, but how do I stop her?
Oh, that's so
Maybe I was
true.
just excited. But now
Yep.
you're punching me in the face because you thought I was going to punch you in the face. And now I'm like, wait, I was just excited to see you.
I didn't want to punch you in the face. Right.
But you had to stop me, and it creates more problems. When we have emotions, it forces our body to react in ways that are not ultimately good for us. They're good
So
for getting
true.
us out of the moment, but they're terrible for building a life that you want. And so you literally have to decide, I am not going there anymore. I am going to trust in God. I'm going to trust in the universe. I'm going to trust in myself that I have the tools to make sure I'm okay.
Well, and you have to realize that as you become more conscious to these things, you're going to lose tolerance for things that are not in alignment with that.
Yes.
It's amazing to me to watch how, as I witness and observe, which is that state of neutrality that you really want to get to, how you really don't get to this place of peace and calm until you can really let everything go and accept everything that comes up.
Right. Because
it
otherwise you're in a
will.
place of contraction.
Right.
And if you accept and relax what's happening,
right,
and see what's really happening, then you're in a place of receiving and openness. They're two way different energetic states, and one will kill you, and the other one will let you live 1,000 years.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, the body is designed to regenerate itself. I mean, it even has these great little stem cells which are hidden until we do something like intermittent fasting. And when you do something like intermittent fasting, which is a body trigger to heal itself, what happens is these stem cells in your body, they shed all the camouflage and all the covering that they had, making them look like everybody else. And they go in and they take your body back to its original, DNA imprint, not the degraded one where the telomeres on either side are, worn out. And they actually go in and they fix your DNA. So there are physical triggers that keep your body regenerating itself. And as I said,
Right.
fasting is one of them, but there's all sorts of things. If we think of the science fiction movies, a lot of times I'm thinking of one where they were in Egypt and there was this healing thing and they were spaceships and I don't remember what it was. Stargate. It was Stargate. But we're able to heal the body by working with its unconscious triggers because it triggers the body to heal itself. And we're knowing and understanding more and more about that. So
Right.
when you're in a place of fight or flight, your body's fighting itself, turns into arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, skin conditions, headaches, whatever, eye degeneration. Turns into that because your body is eating itself. It's fighting itself.
So crazy.
When you learn how to trigger yourself so that you stay in a relaxed, open state, and any emotions that come up, they come up and then they go. Advanced meditators, it's not that they stop having feelings. Advanced meditators, it's that they have a feeling and then they let it go. The Dalai Lama, sob about the plight of his people. And 15 minutes later, be laughing about the beauty of the world. It's not about not having emotions. It's about not holding on to the emotions and staying present with what's happening. And when you're able to do that, when you've got the tools, when you've got the support, when you take good enough care of yourself that you're not constantly flipping into stress, then your body's always regenerating itself. As you know, every 7 years, everything in your body is new. And it only looks the same because we kept behaving the same. But when you stop going down that same track and that same path, and you start building a new path, eventually, like with all of those, they grow over. The old ones, they get recycled. You don't go down that negative feeling path anymore. Now you're in the positive, and
Right.
you've got strong pathways for it. But you have to literally say, nope, we're moving it over here. It's like a switch on the train where it's rusted into place. You have to go in and clean it and oil it and move it and say, no, we're going over here.
And that's like the neural pathways that they talk about in our brain, that they're the grooves, that the more you repeat the patterns that you've done in life, the deeper the grooves and then the harder it is for them to go away.
Yeah,
right?
but the stronger the emotional addiction we have to it, because it's not only a neural pathway, it's also your body releasing the chemicals of emotion. So every time you go down the left track, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, and you feel like your skin's crawling and you want to punch somebody in the face. But if you feel that way,
so true.
and you take the switch and you say, I know,
absolutely true.
Yeah, I know this sounds like the right thing to do. I am sure of it. You've got a little, a little Post-it note on the wall that says, it's not as serious as you think. And you look at it and you say, wait, I put that there when I was sane, when I was not crazy, when I was in my right mind, when I was in flow, when I was thinking in my highest self. And it says to me right now, it's not as serious as you think. So I'm going to believe that.
Right.
And I'm going to go do something that makes me feel better. I'm not going to go down that path. And the cool thing is then your body doesn't create all that adrenaline and cortisol, because every time you think the thought, your body pumps a little bit more of that juice into your system. We're addicted to it. So you're battling your physical addiction to your angry thoughts and feelings, and you have to be diligent. But if you are diligent, then the shifts come very quickly. And it doesn't take long for you to, like the Dalai Lama, be directly, tied into his people's pain, and also see the beauty and the miraculous and the perfectness of everything that is.
So that's when we drill down to like creating relationships and a life that you love, that it's coming off of that addiction, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever the emotion is, whether it's sadness or anger or frustration, it's just a pattern. And it's a pattern that it's a limiting belief pattern that's hooked to an emotion that then continues to play its way out over and over and over again. And I've always said, like, it was funny in my journey post-divorce, I had this experience of, I had this huge aha the one day where I was like, because once you're divorced, you don't necessarily go into a relationship that's not similar to the one that you just left, right? Because you inherently you've changed some, but you haven't completely done a 180 yet, because you have to build that muscle to continue to plug into the world being authentically you. And for like, if you've been married and then you get divorced and you've spent years not fully 100% authentically be yourself, then what happens is that you're still sending out a vibe, if you will, at a certain vibration, because we're all energy. And so that vibe going out there then attracts something that's slightly different, but similar. And I got really clear on this the one day where I was like, oh, got it. I either do my work in this one. So I could completely like not have this boyfriend and go to the next boyfriend and continue to do that pattern, like plugging in and out with different people. Or you could, which, mind you, have the same behavioral patterns because they're linking up and connecting with you like a puzzle, where the puzzle pieces just go together. And then, or you could just do the work with the one. And if it's once you're done with all the lessons, because I truly believe that we call people into our lives to help us evolve. And you either do the evolution with that person, or you break it off and then, you try to make it all about that person, as opposed to the fact that you didn't do your work with that person. I remember when one of my spiritual teachers said to me, well, your marriage turned out the way that it did because of the fact that you weren't the leader. You didn't stay in an empowered state. And I remember sitting here going, huh? I now truly understand that, because I truly understand how I didn't show up authentically. I negotiated myself away because I was trying to hold the bucket for all kinds of things.
Right.
And I just let that component be what it was. And after 17 years, I just let it, like, literally, I didn't realize that like 30% of myself, of how I was plugging into that part of my world, was authentically not even close to being myself.
Right.
And if I would have stayed married, well, so I started to wake up to that, right? So you start waking up to that, oh, I'm creating a relationship and a life that I don't really love. Like, whoa. And then I started to be authentic and start plugging into the world in an authentic manner. And then that's when all the rocky waves started to come going, because the other party may or may not be willing to then be authentic with you as well. Because if you're not showing up 100% authentic, it's likely they're not 100% showing up authentic either. And it's not, here's the piece, it's not good or bad. It just is, right? And I've now witnessed this with many, many clients along the boat since I've been through this. And it's like, if we just keep going back to authentically be who you are in your heart, no matter who it disappoints or what nervousness you get in trying to communicate that, but just be like, I just taught one of my kids the other day. I said, if you know it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, and it's not going to come out perfect, just say, you know what, I know I'm not going to say this exactly perfectly, but I'm going to do my best. And then say it, because it kind of takes the edge off. And that's you trying to build that muscle to be authentic in your communication. And what happens is in this process, you actually then start to create the relationships and the life that you love, because you're loving yourself the most by actually tuning into your own heart and communicating and being and doing from that place in the world, as opposed to showing up in the world and how everybody else wants you to show up. Instead of, because people would love for us to keep showing up the way that we are, because that works out damn well for them. But is it working out damn well for you? That's the question. And
Right.
we often don't think of ourselves when we're in that process, like particularly us women, like we so easily negotiate that away. It's really fascinating to me that, we just don't own our power. Now, I can translate that into the money world super easy. You just look at from an employer standpoint, men walk into their employers all the time and say, I deserve this amount of money, this amount, or I'm out of here. And they really actually don't have any wiggle room on that. And they could care less. Women always on the financial front go into their employers and go, yeah, I've done all these things, and gosh, it would be really nice if I could get some more money. But they don't have the number of the money that they want, or they're not willing to speak the number that they want, because they're just happy to be at the table and just happy to have a job and happy to just keep doing their work in the world because it makes them happy. But we're forgetting the most financial self-loving thing, and that's asking for what you're worth. And then deciding, because then you're coming to the table being empowered and authentic. Now, the employer could still say no, just like a parent could still say no to their children. But if you showed up and stepped into it, and this is no different from our jobs to our relationships to our family and our kids, it ripples across the board. This is where you got to build that muscle of how to really be authentic and stay in that empowered state. And I had a conversation with someone recently about, what if they force our kids to get the vaccine inside schools? And I said, well, then it's our menu option so we just reevaluate. How do you make that decision, from an empowered place? Because, if you see what's going on in Australia, they're forcing all the school kids to get the shots. Like they just lined them up in school and gave them shots. And good or bad or indifferent, I don't really want to get into that debate. But what I'm saying is, Why is it that we can't stay in an empowered state and say, okay, here's my menu of choices now. So if my kids stay at this school and these are now the new set of rules, do I resonate with that or do I not resonate with that? And then just make a decision and a choice of how you want to step forward in whatever that is.
Right. And that would be wonderful if we could stay in that objective, empowered state.
Fair enough.
Problem is our bodies are stronger than our minds many times.
And they repeat the patterns.
Right. What we think about, what we obsess about is what we're going to continue to create. And our bodies are freaking out. And instead, we think we're communicating. I learned something about communication. People read your energy more than they read your words. And
beautiful.
So it doesn't matter if you say everything right. It doesn't matter if you've got the perfect words, if you're justified and innocent and how none of that matters. What matters is how you feel inside of yourself. And when you feel good inside of yourself, then when you interact with someone, you're holding that space and a different reality has space to be created. You know, they say in quantum physics that when you're not looking at it, it's a wave. When you're looking at it, it's a reality. You know, it's something that's actually happening. And so when we're choosing to look at something and think, Rita's going to attack me on the street, we're creating the reality because you punched me in the face and now I'm so excited and overstimulated that I knee you in the groin, you know, and now we've got this, you know, mud bath and everybody's
so true.
So, but if you notice how you feel and you say, you know what, I can protect myself right now. So I want to see how this plays out. Instead, you create a different reality. You say, oh, look, as I'm only halfway to you, you say, oh, look, she's just excited and exuberant. Look how happy she's waving at me. And you evaluate it from that place. But our bodies are so addicted to fear and anxiety, and it makes almost all of our decisions for us. And you have to deal with how you feel first so that you can look at an issue from an objective, empowered point. But if you don't, if you ignore yourself and say, I know you're scared and you need to shut up and, you know, you're a loser anyways. You know, if you're saying that.
You're a loser, baby, so why don't you kill?
That's exactly it. You know, if you're going to be like, you wuss, you know, if you're going to do that, then you're going to assume I'm coming to punch you in the face. But if you go, wow, I'm really uncomfortable around this right now. This is interesting. I'm going to pause for a second. Oh, look, it's safe. I'm okay. I can let down.
You know, I remember when you're saying this, I remembered as I was going through my mediation process, as I was in the divorce process, we went in to see this mediator, someone who the two of us both knew from the Chopra Center when we did our certifications. She was actually certified Ayurvedically as well. And I know a lawyer that is Ayurvedically certified. It was amazing. And she said, oh, Julie, I get it. She goes, you're a sad dog. And I go, what? She goes, you're a sad dog. Let me explain what a sad dog is. She said, a sad dog is when you come home from work and you're coming home, you walk in the door and you have a dog. And the dog is all excited because he wants to get pet behind the ears and butt belly rubbed, everything. And then that day you come home and that's exactly what you do. And then the next day you come home from work and the dog's ready to greet you and everything. And you're like, okay, I want to get my ears rubbed and my belly rubbed again and all this love and affection. But then that day, that person's had a bad day. That dog has had, your owner has had a bad day. And now your owner kicks you straight across the room and just like shoves you away the whole time. She goes, and I all of a sudden looked at her and go, I'm a sad dog. Because I didn't know ever what I was about to walk into, because it was a lot of stress and strain every day. And I think we all do that on a certain standpoint, but it's like, oh, if it's really that extreme to where, am I coming home to happy-go-lucky and being loved, or am I coming home to like, oh my God, I just got kicked across the room because of whatever else is going on in somebody else's and I wasn't actually physically kicked. I want to put,
No,
I
you're
mean, it's just a
yeah,
figure of speech,
yeah.
but it's just about that when it's that tumultuous, emotionally, and mentally, that all of a sudden it's that hard wires into your physical body. That's what I wanted to bring up when you were talking. It's like the body is just like, and that's what then creates the anxiety. Like you don't know which one you're going to get to. So it's like, okay, how do I assess the situation? And I remember getting off the elevator being like, I could either hear the noise coming from the unit or it was peace, calm, and chill. And so I knew which one I was about to walk into,
You
depending
got
on
objectivity. So then you could see it coming. You could make the decision about how you wanted to handle it before you got there. And then
right.
you were prepared. But you
Yep.
can't do it as long as you're like, why is this happening to me? Oh my God, this is terrible. Which is why I tell women to unplug from the happy, joyous emotions too. Because they come together. You don't just get suffering and pain. You also, people get attracted to narcissists because sometimes it's the best sex they've ever had. Sometimes this person gave him more love than anybody else has ever given them. And so we're addicted to getting that love from outside of ourselves, and then we're disappointed and crushed when we don't get it because we're not giving it to ourselves first. And by giving it to ourselves, we can accept people for who they are and make decisions which protect ourselves so we don't lose all of our money, don't end up, ostracized. We can make better decisions.
Right.
And so it's about unplugging from the emotions. And advanced meditators don't, as I said, it's not that they stop feeling. It's that they are able to feel and let it go, and feel and let it go. And when you do that, you have wider eyesight, because if you're constantly thinking about the past and negative things and fear and anxiety, you miss all the cues that tell you what to do. You miss God's messages to you, let's say. You miss
because you're in a different realm.
Yep, you're not connected. Yeah.
Well, it's like the 5 stress responses you always talk about, where you either, when you're stressed, you either try to fight or you try to control others, you people please, you disassociate, right? Like those ways that we check out, if you will, if we're not in the present moment, because we don't feel safe and we don't feel like we've got a handle on it. Just fascinating. And go ahead.
Oh, and I tell people there's the 6th one, which is what they need to be focusing on. We think we only have these 5 options. You're like, well, I've tried fighting with them. I've tried disassociating with them. I've tried giving them everything that they want. I tried ignoring it all. I tried just holding my boundaries as tightly as I can. I've tried it all and none of it's worked. And you just keep spinning around in all of those things. And I said, well, there's another perspective. The 6th option is that you love yourself.
Right.
And if you focus on loving yourself all the time, then you don't make things worse by going into these manipulative, controlling, stress-related actions. You say, no, that's just me reacting to stress. I'm actually choosing to be the 6th option, which is connected. And
like last night when I got on the treadmill at 10 o'clock at night.
You're saying I'm choosing something different. And if it were me and I was that angry and that upset, I would have immediately gone to the bathroom. I would have sprayed rose hydrosol on my face. I would have taken about 6 or 7 different essential oils and gone round and round and round and round smelling them, because that talks directly to your amygdala. I would be putting on soothing music, in order to keep myself level.
I have a magnesium spray because magnesium counteracts the cortisol that shoves through your system.
Yeah.
So like I have found, and your skin actually absorbs way better than popping a magnesium pill.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I found this spray that I love, that it's like, okay, I just spray my body and my whole body goes,
right.
Chills.
And wouldn't that have been great if you'd had that magnesium spray there, and when you were freaking out?
I remember to do it after my workout.
You know what? Excuse me for a minute. You go to the bathroom, you get naked, you spray it all over your body. You're like, I'm just gonna soak this in. And you make some, beautiful prayer to yourself. And I mean,
exactly.
We don't end up in happy land because we wait until the last minute. We end up in happy land because we keep spending time creating a space that lifts us up, creating people and environments and relationships that lift us up. If we make that our last priority, then you're always going to be screwed, because
no, it's got to be the number one priority.
It has to be the number one priority. And only then are you able to deal with the dramas of life.
Yep, exactly. Well, Rita, thank you so much for today. I am so grateful. And if anyone has any questions or anything, please, by all means, type them in the chat, and we will help you get to this next self-loving place in a life that you love.
Absolutely, and you deserve it.
Beautiful. And Rita, how do people get a hold of you?
They can go to ritahickmancoaching.com. I do 7 and 9 week packages where you can reset your nervous system, which means that you get to unplug from all the drama that's all around you and do things like eat chocolate cake and smell rose essential oil and go on long, all those dating things. I want to go on walks on the beach. Well, go! So I'm encouraging people to live a spiritual life, and by living a spiritual life, they unplug from all the drama that's around them.
Beautiful. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Guys.
Bye.